I have been suspended from the PGA Tour. It's been a difficult few weeks for us. It's been an emotional roller coaster fraction that led to my immediate and indefinite suspension from the PGA Tour. The Duels Miami, it was deemed an unauthorized event by the PGA Tour.
I am James, and this is Golf Relived. You clicked on this because somewhere in the back of your mind, you already suspected that a sport built entirely on personal honesty might not always be so honest. The perfect score, the clean card, the spotless reputation. Golf sells all of that better than any sport on earth. But pull back the curtain just a little, and what you find is one of the wildest, weirdest histories of cheating, cover-ups, peer confrontations, and exile that any sport has ever quietly buried. And the most fascinating part is not that it happened. It is what happened next. If you are enjoying this video so far, go ahead and hit the hype button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this channel more than you probably... Now, let us get into it. April 2025, a former PGA Tour winner named Wesley Bryan did something almost no professional golfer ever does. He went public. Not through a press release, not through an agent, not through some carefully worded statement buried on a tour website. He picked up his phone, opened his YouTube channel, and told his audience directly that the PGA Tour had suspended him. The reason was that he had appeared in a YouTube golf event called The Duels, Miami, which was sponsored by LIV Golf. Under the tour's strict media rights policy, every member is required to hand over their exclusive broadcast rights to the commissioner each year. If a player wants to appear in any recorded or televised golf program, they need a written waiver from Commissioner Jay Monahan. Bryan did not get one. So the tour suspended him indefinitely and expected him to stay quiet about it the way players always have. Bryan refused. He announced the suspension himself, explained his plan to appeal, and argued that rules written decades ago to stop players from jumping to rival broadcast networks were never meant to stop a golfer from posting YouTube videos. By going public, Bryan cracked open a door that the tour had kept sealed for a very long time. And that tension between silence and accountability is not new to this sport. It runs all the way back through decades of scorecards, bunkers, lawsuits, and rainforest exile. Because here's what golf runs. Honor. There are no referees walking every hole, no camera on every shot. The entire system depends on players being honest about what they did, even when no one is watching. That is a beautiful idea. It is also a system that creates enormous pressure when a single stroke separates a paycheck from a missed cut. Most players hold the line, but some do not. And when they do not, golf does something remarkable. It drags the truth into the light, pays whatever price is required, and comes out the other side a little stronger. Nowhere is that story told more completely than in what happened to Vijay Singh in 1985. To understand the man, you have to understand where he came from. Singh was born in Lautoka, Fiji, the son of a man named Mohan Singh, who worked as an aircraft refueler and technician at Nadi International Airport. His father won the club championship at the Nadi Airport Golf Club 9 times. The family lived right next to the airport runways, directly across from a 9-hole course. Young Vijay had no formal access to that course, so he climbed the fence, he dodged active aircraft, he practiced under a mango tree near the 14th fairway, or hit balls on the flat, firm sand of the beach when the tide went out. He dropped out of school at 16 and started caddying for $1 a day. His entire golf education came from his father, from watching videotapes of Tom Weiskopf's swing over and over again. He turned professional in 1982 and traveled to Australia to play on mini tours and in outback pro-ams in towns like Kalgoorlie and Alice Springs. The money never stretched far enough. He ran up debts, left pro shops with unpaid telephone bills, and eventually the Australian PGA banned him until those debts were settled. Every door he tried to walk through had a catch. Every step forward came with a stumble back. Then came Jakarta. In 1985, at 22 years old, Singh was playing the second round of the Indonesian Open. He was fighting to make the cut by a single stroke. Between the moment he finished his round and the moment he signed his scorecard, an official from the Indonesian Golf Association determined that the card had been altered to show a score 1 stroke lower than Singh had actually made. That 1 stroke kept him inside the cut line. He was immediately disqualified and handed an indefinite suspension by the Southeast Asian Golf Federation. Singh's explanation has never changed. He said he did not alter the card himself. He said his playing partner, an Indonesian amateur and the son of a prominent local VIP, was the one keeping score and had recorded the wrong number. He said he took the fall to protect someone with powerful connections. His peers did not believe him. In 1996, a Sports Illustrated writer named John Garrity spent months investigating the incident, interviewing the official who ruled on the disqualification and Asian tour players who were there, including the Canadian professional in the group. Nearly everyone he spoke to reached the same conclusion. One American professional said flatly it was not a misunderstanding and expressed frustration that Singh kept denying it. Whether Singh altered that card himself or not, the punishment was swift and total. He was out. The tour did not want him. Mainstream competitive golf had no place for him. And so he ended up in Borneo, in the rainforest, at a small club called the Keningau Club, working as a club professional for around 500 Malaysian dollars per month, which at the time amounted to roughly 150 to 200 US dollars. He lived in a one-bedroom apartment that sat 2.5 hours down a dirt road from the nearest city. He gave lessons to oil workers and timber company executives. Most people would have found a way to blame the sport, soften the edges, and quietly quit. Singh went the other direction entirely. During the hottest hours of the day, from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, when nobody else was willing to be outside in the humid rainforest heat, Singh was on the range. He hit up to 1,000 golf balls every single day. He worked on his swing until it was something close to mechanical perfection. He did not do this because someone was watching. He did it because the alternative was to accept that Jakarta was the end of his story. He was not willing to do that. To stay sharp, he played high-stakes match play against wealthy locals, timber barons, Shell oil executives. One match stands out above all others. On the par 5 finishing hole, a precise carry over water was required to reach an island fairway. Singh had $10 in his pocket and $700 on the line. He hit his opening drive out of bounds. He stepped up with his provisional ball, found the fairway, and holed out for a net par, which with the penalty stroke counted as an eagle. His opponent found the hazard and made a 7. Singh won the hole and the money. He kept the bet hidden from his wife until long after. That is who Vijay Singh is. That exile in the rainforest did not destroy his career. It built it. He won the Nigerian Open in 1988. He qualified for the European Tour. In 1993, he was named PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. He went on to win 3 major championships, claim 3 PGA Tour money list titles, and in 2004 and 2005, he held the world #1 ranking for 32 weeks, dethroning Tiger Woods during what most people considered Woods' prime. The man who climbed airport fences and practiced on beach sand and hit 1,000 balls a day in Borneo ended up at the very top of the game. The story of golf correcting itself does not always look like a redemption arc. Sometimes it looks like a lawsuit that rewrites the rules. In 1972, Jane Blalock was the top money winner on the LPGA Tour. She was playing the second round of the Bluegrass Invitational in Louisville, Kentucky, when she was disqualified and fined $500 for allegedly replacing her ball marker incorrectly on the 17th green, placing the ball closer to the hole than where she had marked it. What happened next had nothing to do with golf and everything to do with power. The LPGA executive board was made up entirely of active players, meaning that Blalock's direct competitors were sitting in judgment. 27 players signed a petition demanding harsher punishment. The board met with Blalock 3 times over 10 days. At one point, LPGA executive director Bud Erickson suggested that Blalock pretend she had a disabling back injury to explain why she would suddenly disappear from the tour. Blalock refused. She was handed a 1-year suspension and had roughly $50,000 in earnings withheld. She responded by filing a $5 million antitrust lawsuit in federal court. Her argument was straightforward. Her direct competitors had voted to ban her from working, and that was an illegal restraint of trade under the Sherman Antitrust Act. The federal court agreed. The judge ruled that a board made up of active competitor players had no legal authority to discipline and exclude a fellow competitor from the professional market. The court called it a naked restraint of trade. Blalock got a restraining order that allowed her to keep playing during the case, won damages, and went on to win 27 LPGA titles in her career. The ruling forced professional golf to dismantle peer-run disciplinary models that had existed since the beginning. Independent commissioners were brought in. Professional rules officials were appointed. The structure of how tours govern themselves was permanently changed because one player refused to pretend she had a bad back. Not every scandal ended in transformation. Some ended careers entirely. In July 1985, the same year as the Jakarta incident, a Scottish professional named David Robertson was competing in an Open Championship qualifying event. His caddy, a man named Paul Connolly, watched what was happening and could not believe he was seeing. On the 3rd green, Robertson hurried ahead of his playing partners and moved his ball roughly 10 feet closer to the hole while pretending to mark it. He did the exact same thing on the 4th green. On the 6th and 7th holes, he was caught improving his lie in the rough. On the 9th, he sent Connolly ahead to measure yardage, and while the caddy's back was turned, Robertson moved his ball from being deeply buried in thick rough to sitting cleanly on top of the grass. Connolly quit on the spot, put down the bag on the 9th green and told tournament officials everything. Robertson was disqualified on the 14th hole. When investigators dug into his history, they found a pattern going back 15 years, including a scorecard falsification at the 1970 Scottish Youth Stroke Play Championship and a suspicious withdrawal from the 1977 Portugal Open after a competitor accused him of dropping a fresh ball in the rough. The response was total: 20-year ban, £5,000 fine. Robertson was 28 years old. His career was finished before it had really started. He never paid the fine. After 7 years of appeals, he eventually got his amateur playing status back, but professional golf was done with him. That case established a clear line. Accidental infractions get a stroke penalty. Systematic, deliberate, premeditated dishonesty gets professional expulsion. Peer enforcement is its own form of discipline in this sport, and it does not always come through official channels. At the inaugural Skins game in 1983 at Desert Highlands in Arizona, Gary Player removed a small rooted leaf from behind his ball in a hazard on the 16th hole. Under the rules, loose impediments can be moved, but anything still rooted or growing cannot be touched. Player tied the hole and won $130,000 on the next one. After the round, Tom Watson found him on a dirt road near the clubhouse and said he was accusing Player and was tired of it. Player denied any intentional wrongdoing, and no official penalty was applied. But the confrontation sent a clear signal through the locker room that no one, regardless of status, was above scrutiny. 22 years later, a similar moment played out at the 2005 Indonesian Open in what became known as Jakarta Gate. Play was suspended due to a weather warning while Colin Montgomery was in a greenside bunker preparing his third shot on the 14th hole. He left without marking his ball. When he returned the next morning, the ball had been removed. Instead of calling a rules official to reconstruct the lie, Montgomery placed a new ball in a position that gave him an easier, flatter stance and saved par. Nobody raised it at the time. Then fellow professionals, Soren Kjeldsen and Jerry Norquist, reviewed the television replay and raised formal concerns. The European Tour's chief referee later said he would have applied a 2-stroke penalty in real time. Montgomery admitted the placement was incorrect and donated his £24,000 in prize money to charity, but he kept the world ranking points from his tied 4th finish, which he needed to stay in the top 50 and qualify for the Masters. The tournament committee issued a statement of dissatisfaction, and fellow major winner Sandy Lyle publicly labeled the bunker placement a form of cheating, sparking a feud that ran for years. Golf keeps finding ways to hold itself accountable, even without referees on every hole. In 2023, at the Commissionaire's Ottawa Open, a player named Justin Doeden erased a double bogey 7 from his scorecard and changed it to a par 5 so that he would make the cut. His playing partner reported it. Doeden was disqualified and withdrew from the tour. Then he did something unusual. He posted a full public confession on social media. He admitted exactly what he had done, accepted the consequence, and made no attempt to hide or minimize. That kind of accountability, forced by a fellow competitor and then owned publicly, is exactly the mechanism golf was built on. The PGA Tour, meanwhile, has spent years trying to keep its disciplinary processes as quiet as possible. When players are fined or suspended, the Tour does not announce it. That policy is meant to protect players and sponsors from public embarrassment, but in practice it creates confusion. And when Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson each took extended breaks from competition, Tour's refusal to confirm or deny anything allowed speculation to run wild. Rory McIlroy has argued publicly that announcing fines and suspensions is necessary for the Tour to maintain trust with fans and to make discipline actually mean something as a deterrent. Scott Stallings showed exactly what goes wrong under the current system. In 2015, he was prescribed a supplement called Dia by his doctor for chronic fatigue. He did not know it was on the Tour's banned list. When he realized, he immediately self-reported, consistent with everything golf stands for. He even passed a random urine test while he was taking it. The Tour took 4 months to process his case before finally announcing a 3-month suspension. He had been competing the entire time. The delay made the whole process look absurd. Graham McDowell ran into a different version of the same problem in 2024. He failed a random doping test after using an over-the-counter nasal decongestant that contained a substance called R-methamphetamine. He received a 1-tournament suspension and a fine of $125,000. He admitted he had been negligent in not checking the product against the banned list, and it was accepted that he had no intention of gaining any advantage. But the case still played out publicly, and it illustrated how thin the line can be between an honest mistake and a career-defining headline. Wesley Bryan in 2025 chose to make that line visible on purpose. He took his suspension public, challenged the rules openly, and forced a conversation about whether tour governance has kept pace with how the sport actually exists in the modern world. A YouTube video is not a rival broadcast network. A content creator is not jumping ship to a competitor. The rules that govern how and where players can appear were written for a completely different era of media, and Brian's case is making that impossible. What connects all of these stories, from a man hitting 1,000 balls a day in Borneo humidity, to a woman winning a federal antitrust case, to a caddy quitting mid-round out of disgust, is that golf keeps correcting itself. It is not always fast or clean, but the sport has a documented history of being forced into a better version of itself by the very scandals that seem like they should destroy it. Vijay Singh's exile became the foundation of his greatness. Jane Blaylock's lawsuit remade how every major tour is governed. David Robertson's ban drew a line that protects the game's integrity to this day. Gary Player got confronted on a dirt road, and the locker room got the message. Montgomery donated his prize money, and peer accountability worked exactly as it was meant to. Duden confessed publicly and reminded everyone watching that the honor system still matters. Golf is a sport without referees on every hole because it was built on the belief that integrity does not need supervision. When that belief gets tested, the sport does not look away. It investigates, punishes, reforms, and comes back stronger. The weirdest cheating scandal in golf history is never really just a scandal. It is the sport finding out where it needs to grow. And that is what makes golf unlike anything else. If you made it this far, you already know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling us which story surprised you most. We will see you in the next one.